All right, people. So, our first and only review of the day is going to be for the film Supergirl 2026 here. Like I said, they finally did another movie, man. That we just reviewed the one from 1984. Me and Sage did discuss that one, but we finally got a brand new one for people to enjoy. This one's directed by Craig Gillespie. People might know Craig Gillespie. He's done such movies as I, Tonya. He did Fright Night, the remake of that movie, which I like quite a bit. I actually like the Fright. It's actually surprisingly really good, actually. It's one of the rare cases where the remake is actually, I think, better than the original movie. And this one takes on the titular character of Supergirl, who you have Millie Alcock there, who plays Kara there, who she's a mess. She's a mess. She's going around drinking from planet to planet there, drinking herself into a stupor there, she, with her and her dog, her cute messy dog, erratic dog Crypto there, and she's, like I said, her planet of Krypton has been destroyed there. She came from also the city of Argo, which was like this little kind of mini planet there that descended from Krypton after it was destroyed, and we get to see that. But that something ended up happening with that planet, where she had to leave from there and go to Earth, and then meet her cousin Kal-El there, who we know as Clark, but she's kind of suffering from that PTSD, that trauma there, which is leading her to kind of doing all these things, to this destructive behavior. And we saw her make a little bit of a cameo appearance in Superman 2025 there, which people go like, okay, maybe I can see this. And it's a different interpretation than what we've seen from Supergirl initially. I know maybe some people might be familiar with her in maybe the animated show, Superman, the animated series, or maybe when she had her own TV show on the CW as well there. But in her kind of drinking there, she runs into a girl who's on a mission for revenge there, who had an evil villain, Krim was his name there, who ended up killing her family. So she's tasked with trying to go out, hire somebody. It's like, I want you to go out and help me kill this guy. In exchange, if you kill this person, I'll give you this nice, cool, fancy sword there if you accomplish the mission. And apparently her dad is kind of like, I don't know, like the guy from Kill Bill there, who makes all these great swords and from this magnificent steel. So it's, I guess, a very valuable thing to have one of these swords. So Kara unwittingly kind of joins the girl and joins her on her mission there, especially after the villain Krim poisons her dog Crypto there. And you know how, white women, dogs, how they feel about them dogs. So so she's like, oh no, I got to get the antidote from him in order to save my dog. She only has 3 days to do that. So she ends up joining the girl. So they kind of have a joint mission together. She wants, the little girl wants revenge, and then Kara wants to get the antidote for her dog there. And the little girl's name was Rye, I think was her name.
Ruthie.
Okay. Ruthie there. And this movie, not getting good reviews. It's been getting torn apart there, kind of left and right. At best, most people are saying it's just kind of okay at best. There with that. Currently it's at 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. Normally I wouldn't bring up too much of the Rotten Tomatoes thing, but just give people a general sense there with that. And I'm going to expand more on this when I do a spoiler review on Monday there, of just like, especially some weird articles, like the Variety ones, which people are pointing to a lot. That one was really strange. But I'm going to go around, but maybe we feel differently. Maybe we love it. Maybe we think, hey, it's one of the best movies of the year. Nick, what are your thoughts, man? Supergirl 2026.
So with the the announcement that James Gunn made a couple years ago about the slate of DC films, one of them that I was the most excited about was this Supergirl, and that they were adapting the Tom King book Woman of Tomorrow, which, if you haven't read that, it's one of, I think, the best singular runs of Supergirl. It does such a good job of separating Kara, who is a character that I think unfairly gets just misinterpreted as Clark Kent, but as a woman. And if you look at older runs of the character, if you look at some of the arcs on the animated series and in Justice League, and especially in Woman of Tomorrow, she is not that. She is a much darker, much more cynical character. And for my money, is one of the positives of this movie is Millie Alcock, because she captures so many layers to Kara Zor-El that that just has not been seen before from this character, even in the adaptations that I've liked, like in my adventures with Superman.
Mm, yeah. What say you there, Zach?
As a fan of the comic and as a fan of the character, I was trying to separate the fandom and just watch the movie for this adaptation, because obviously every time they adapt a character, they change him completely. Tony Stark is completely different from how he used to be in the comics, but we love him in the live action movies. And I feel like what they did here, it just felt like the writer did the bare minimum with the script, and then everyone else was trying to put it on its back and lift it up, because all the actors were really, really strong. The direction was strong. The visuals weren't the best in the world, but they were good. There was like a lot of great scenes in there that looked visually well, but the script just was weighing it down, because it just feels like they took a panel from the comic where she's in a bar and then made that the whole movie and didn't read the rest of the book. That's what it feels like, and added elements that just wasn't there, that didn't make the movie better. Sometimes I like Shang-Chi. They made that movie better by changing certain things, because Shang-Chi in the book can kind of be a little boring as a character. I think they made him a lot more interesting in the movie, especially with the Mandarin and tying those together and leaving all the racist like archetypes from that movie out. With Supergirl, this movie, and I'm glad they dropped the Woman Tomorrow off, because it's not worthy enough of that comic book. I think the movie feels like it's edited in a way where a drunk person is telling you a story. So yeah, Supergirl came in the bar, right, and she started dancing a little bit, and then Crypto was walking, and then this person walked in, and then the song stopped as soon as the girl came in, and it feels like it's just jumping and nothing has time to breathe. So it was just really, really rough for like half the movie to like latch on to anything.
Yeah. One of my things about this movie, the runtime, you mentioned kind of the rush feeling of the nature. That's what I kind of feel about this. You probably should have tacked on maybe more time with this. I know people think, man, I didn't want to spend more time in that theater. Hold on. While watching this movie.
This is a rare case, because this movie's only like an hour and 40 some minutes, and there was enough here, and it kind of feels like there was a lot cut out of this movie that you could have tacked on another 20 minutes and it would have served every character in this better.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think it really needed that, because I think walking away from this movie, I think it would have get a chance to bond more with Kara as a character and with Supergirl as a character. Because beyond, okay, we know she's got trauma from her planet and dying, and that she's lost everything. And then normally with a space adventure, I'm like, man, fuck Earth. I don't want to see Earth. Get away from Earth. I want to see all these planets. I want to see all these creatures and aliens and everything like this. But I think it could have had time to really spend with seeing her and Clark, and Clark trying to have her adjust to Earth, in the kind of culture shock of that, and her trying to fit in and not being able to. And then it's not a spoiler to say, yes, David Corn Sweat is in the movie. He's Superman. He does have scenes in the movie there, and those scenes really work. I think her and his their chemistry really works together there, and their interactions really work. And then his first meeting her, and then he's got that kind of G golly kind of whole thing about him, and she's kind of like, this, why is he in his underwear, like the fuck's wrong with this dude? And I think it could have served to see that a little bit of her on Earth, and so I think it would have bonded us more with that character, and then we would have understood why she just wants to kind of spend more of her time off Earth, and then on a red sun, getting drunk every single day, and then living in a ship in squalor, with this dog, sharing, Reese's Cocoa Pebbles, you know what I mean, and all this other stuff like that. I think it would have, really worked in that case there. And then also, I think it would have worked because you also have Jason Momoa in here, who was the big thing of having him as Lobo. That was also a big thing. Who I heard that initially his Lobo was maybe supposed to be in Woman of Tomorrow comic, but he got cut from the comic.
Yeah, in like early drafts of Woman of Tomorrow, Lobo was going to be a character in it, but they just couldn't find a place for him in there. And honestly, I feel like his inclusion in this, it works, and I really dug Momoa's performance. It's a performance that's so good, it kind of makes me wonder why they ever bothered casting him as Aquaman.
Yeah. And I know there's that funny story Jason Momoa tells when, he went to go audition for, Aquaman, and he goes like, "I thought I was gonna get Lobo. I didn't know I was gonna get Aquaman." They maybe do that, but like as people said, this was the role that he was supposed to be born to play, and I think him in it, it just kind of feels like it's kind of clumsy the way he kind of gets
Mhm.
brought in, and he doesn't get
Yeah.
brought in until a little like midway through the movie, where I think it would have been better maybe if he got brought in earlier, because
Mhm.
maybe you could have done a thing. Because one of the inspirations for this movie is the film True Grit. It
Mhm.
was, from my understanding,
Mhm.
Craig Gillespie's inspiration for it. And if nobody's ever seen True Grit, great movie, and
Mhm.
that's a remake of a film there.
Yeah,
But if you're gonna
that's another case of a remake that's just as good, if not better, than the original.
Yeah, it's really, really good there. And so you coulda had that thing where you had, like, kinda like the devil and angel on, this
Mhm.
girl's shoulder, where Lobo could have been, because he's the one that's pushing for the girl, like, "Yeah, get your revenge and go kill him." And then where
Kill
she's
that
kinda
motherfucker!
yeah, and then Supergirl's like, "No, you don't wanna do that, it's
Uh-huh.
not gonna take your pain away," everything like that. And I think that coulda really worked, and they all share the same goal, because they all are
Mhm.
tracking down these brigands is what they call them,
Mhm.
and they're all doing that. What do you think about Lobo in this, Zach?
For me, fan casting sometimes works really well and
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't. And I think that it just felt like Jason Momoa with makeup on. And I'm
Mm,
hoping that maybe when he gets a little bit more time to develop in the character, it could feel just a little less like him just being a surf bro. But he was the most fun part of the movie. Every time he came in, it injected energy into the film in a way that I was like, okay, I could sit up and I can get excited about these action scenes, these quips, these one-liners. I really wish they found a way to tie him into the story more,
Mhm.
other than him just bounty hunting. I think that it was weird for the storyline of what the villain was doing in terms of
Mhm.
capturing people, and then you have another person that we're
Mhm.
supposed to like capturing someone. I think
Mhm.
that was kind of weird because Lobo in the comics, he has a daughter, and I wish they would have used that to
Mhm.
kind of tie him in here based on
mm,
exactly what the villains were doing. That would have naturally put him in here, and then we could have really rooted for him. So I was like really mixed. I like Jason Momoa as him. He's perfect to play the character, but because how tacked on he feels in the movie story, I didn't fully get like, oh, I really want to see him moving forward all the time in every movie. I wanted to see him in Man of Tomorrow, put him in Flash. If like he was really exciting in this one.
What say you there, Nick?
Yeah, I liked his inclusion in this. He, much like you were saying, he's one of the most fun parts about this. Every time he's on screen, there's like a little bit more energy to it. But it feels like his inclusion doesn't feel natural to the story that they're trying to tell, which I think it kind of goes back to that feeling of how kind of rushed the script is.
Mm. Yeah, and yeah, it feels like kind of rush. Like I say, he's brought in. It's a very like kind of like
Mhm.
a Han Solo type moment. He's in the bar and
Mhm.
everything, hanging out. And it just there's no room to really breathe and to
Mhm.
have kind of more of him. Because like I said, I think he's good, but I don't think he's like he
Mhm.
should be a real scene stiller. And I don't think he really is there with it. And
Yeah.
I think that goes to maybe some of the writing with it. And then, when people looked at the trailers for this, people initially thought like, even someone's like, "Oh, this just feels like it's just Guardians." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Kind of same kind of aesthetic, same kind of thing. Even watching it, I don't really still even get Guardians. I mean, this plot is very similar to actually Guardians 3, because the whole thing where they had to save Rocket, and
Mhm.
then in like a certain number of days because he was sick, and they had to go get a special thing with him and everything.
Yeah, but
I'm
yeah, but that's also a thing with comics. Marvel and DC always kind of steal from each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of comic book stuff. So, I mean, in terms of the aesthetic of it, it just also just looks very bland and dull
Mhm.
and kind of this gray, like right there, like it's all these kind of grays and kind of like dull oranges and everything like that. Like nothing
Mhm.
looks that exciting about these worlds and anything. And then when you compare it to the comic, there, like the comic looks gorgeous. I
It's
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you could put
Look
panels
at that.
from Woman of Tomorrow in the Louvre and nobody would bat an eye.
Yeah.
you know, I
Look at
mean,
that.
the colors of it, it pops on the page. It looks
Pops.
really great. Nothing compares to that in this movie. And if you had that type again, like it feels like somebody just maybe looked at that one scene in the bar and then that's it, and then they didn't actually look at this whole thing. Because like,
It's
yeah,
like, oh, Supergirl, drunk party girl, bet we got a
Bam.
movie.
That's her whole character now. But even like this
But
iconic cover shot, like they made this whole big thing about the sword in the beginning, and she never really touches it or use it or even do that pose. I found that really weird
Mhm.
that it didn't make the sword more important.
yeah, she don't even use the sword. Like here, she get her using the sword here and everything like that. And I get, comic adaptations, they're going to change things, they're going to alter things. But I think if you tried to capture that aesthetic there of the look of the comic of like again, it looks distinct.
Mhm.
It would have distinguished yourself away from Guardians and of
Mhm.
just going like, oh, this is just another Guardians type clone here.
And
By the way
and
it looks, I think it would have
and
done that.
and even going back to what Gunn said the mission statement of the DC universe was going to be, it's like every film is gonna have its own like distinctive style, its distinctive look, and all of these like vastly different stories are gonna exist in the same world, but all have their own flavors to it. And this doesn't really have that. It just kind of feels like a bland superhero movie, which is sad because I like most of this. I enjoy the performance of this. I enjoy Gillespie's direction. I wish we could have gotten more of it, but it feels like this is held back by the script and almost held back by its source material because
Mm.
they wanted to tell a story about Kara's trauma, and I think because they pitch this as an adaptation of Woman of Tomorrow, all of that is kind of holding this movie back when the best parts about this movie are when we're exploring Kara as a character in the flashbacks on Krypton, in the scenes with David Cornsweet, in the like little quiet moments that she has with Evie. Those are the best parts about this movie story wise.
Mm, I agree. Yeah, I like the Argo stuff. I liked.
Yeah.
I like the stuff with David Cornsweet there. Yeah, more of the quieter moments. I kind of like.
And
We'll
those
say.
got to breathe. Like the
Mhm,
whole Argo stuff, I felt like it didn't get chopped up. It actually lasted a little long. We got
mhm,
some emotional beats with her father. That was like the
mhm,
only time I felt like I was kind of choking up a little bit and getting
mhm.
moved.
Yeah,
And after
it's
that,
yeah, it's one thing in because all of those scenes are in Kryptonian, so a language that it's not English, and all of those scenes still work so well, and
yeah,
that speaks to the talent that Millie Alcock has because she has experience delivering dialogue in other languages thanks to House of the Dragon, and
Mm,
she gives such a great performance with not speaking English, and you can tell everything about that Kara is feeling just through her body language, the way her eyes are darting in between scenes, the way her expression is going.
mm, yeah. So yeah, that stuff I liked there quite a bit with those moments in it. And I think maybe those moments should have maybe front loaded the movie. And like I said,
Mhm,
more time would have really helped it if you had more moments like that. You could have build on stuff like that. Um, and then you have the villain of the movie, Krim there, Krim of the Yellow Hills there.
mhm.
Uh,
It's I
uh,
love Matthias Schoenaerts as an actor. I feel like he's very underrated, but this is giving some phase 2 MCU energy as far as like his villain performance goes.
Something like Thor 2, The Dark Elves, something
Yeah,
like that.
and this is kind of an issue I have with the comic because the character is so one-dimensional even in the book, and that's, an issue with the comic, but that's also kind of the point of that character. That he is just evil for the sake of being evil. But all of this like visual stuff they did because you look at him in the comic, he's just a guy.
yeah.
And here they gave him this like kind of Mad Max Road Warrior aesthetic that just feels like you're doing too much.
Yeah, so here he is in the comic, yeah. Kind of looks
Mhm.
like Hercules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the villain. I mean, listen, you can have a terrible villain if everything else is good. Like
Mhm.
Guardians, one of the weakest things about Guardians is that the villain, like Ronan the Accuser, there,
Mhm.
but everything else is it's the writing is fun, it's entertaining, the characters are bouncing off each other, the chemistry is really amazing, the
It looks
soundtrack is
great.
it looks great, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it has the moment where it looks really good. So it really didn't matter that the villain sucked, really. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I want to take over world power, like
Mhm.
traditional villain plot. So because of that, or you could have it where the villain is kind of like maybe like a Kate Blanchett, where even though it's a basic type role, you have the actor who does a lot more with it and does, like, okay, their performance kind of elevates it and does that. And I don't think he does that here with it, for sure with that. So you have kind of a weak script. It's not very entertaining all the way through. So the villain stands out as being really bad because of you don't have all those other elements that people can ignore the bad villain. What say you there, Zach?
I think that he was just really bland. I wouldn't even say he's
Mhm.
bad because I think that the actor did as much as he could with his movements and his looks, and he tried to draw attention, but they never gave him the space. I think you talked about it breathing, right? They never let him breathe. He never has a monologue. He never states why he does what he does. He never bullies his henchmen. Like he feels like one of the henchmen out of the Guardians of the Galaxy from the Space Pirates, like would got his own movie. The
It's
way
like
he looks and
he's
everything.
like if you made Taserface the villain in like Guardians 3.
Yes, this is exactly what it feels like. And they just didn't know what to do with him and making sure that he stood out and giving him the time to have maybe a cool action scene. Like one of the thing, you have the cool monologue, cool action scene, devilish motivation. We should have gotten all that in here and in spurts because he kind of came in and came out. And I think the conveniency of his character, him just like walking up to the ship, him walking up to this, him walking up to, it just made it feel like, okay, he doesn't even seem like a cunning, smart character either. Because it's just like he walking into things and he luckily dodged this. So
yeah, but there's a reason that works in the comic, and I think that's like the fundamental difference. I think is kind of the trouble with this movie because the comic, in one thing, that comic is told from Ruthie's POV. Like all of the like dialogue panels, all of the like little thought bubbles, all of that is her. And so much of that book, it's not a superhero story, it's a character study of Kara and thus how Ruthie is growing throughout it. And in this is kind of just a generic superhero movie, so we have to have a villain because that's the formula of these things.
Yeah. He just kind of just feels like he's like the number one henchman amongst the main villain, like the main villain, and then he's like the right hand guy. Like he never feels like to me he's the boss. It's like, man, take me to your leader. I don't really feel like you're the main guy.
And it's not because the character's not evil enough. When you get to the like nitty gritty of what he's doing, it is the most like wicked, vile shit you can imagine. But I guess he just lacks presentation.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get more into it like when I do the spoiler talk there on Monday. But just as far as their power level and like how that's kind of in the movie, like I kind of had a hard time understanding that of like, okay, is he on the same level as her, or is he a little bit below? Is he a little bit above? Because it's one of the characters that says,
power scaling is like all over the place when it comes to the DC universe.
Yeah.
But just like specifically in this movie, they never explain like why, because he just looks like a guy with like a bunch of tattoos and stuff all over his face. They didn't explain like what planet he comes from, why he would be able to take a punch from her full power and not be knocked out, or even a hit from Lobo and not be knocked out. It just was a thing.
But they also do that in the comic. But Krem in the comic is a much more slimy character. He's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the most evil. He's just the greatest opportunist in the world. He just joins whatever like group of bad guys he comes across on any planet and just keeps weaseling his way out of the consequences. And that's kind of the evil of that character in the book.
That sounds way more interesting. I would have liked to see him like he's this solo character, but he just uses everybody to his advantage to get to where he wants to go. I think the main issue with this movie, other than the writing, is it wants to be gritty, but it doesn't do the things to be gritty. Like his motivation is a gritty, dark thing you would see like a heavy drama for Oscars would try to tackle. Lobo's like the way he attacks people supposed to be feel gritty, but they shy away from it because they want to still be PG. Kara being this kind of drunk, I almost expected Kara to like the fart and burp. Like that's the type of character I felt like it was going towards. Like we saw her pee and the door was open, like things like that. So it feels like it wanted to go to like a gritty place, but they were like, no, we got to keep Supergirl still PG because we want little girls to see this and enjoy it and look up to the character. And I think it's like the grittiness that he was trying to go for versus what they want to sell it for, I think is conflicting.
Yeah. And Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, it's a fantastic book. I don't know if it's a great introduction to the character.
No. Yeah. This should have been like the second or third movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of was just a thing, like as far as power scaling goes there. And I understand, like, also her throughout the movie, there's always some reason, why she can't be at full strength.
Mhm,
She's poisoned, or she's in a red sun, or there's a green
mhm,
sun, or something. And I had to say, maybe from a perspective doing this movie, it's like, okay, we got to come up with a reason why she just can't end this in like 5 seconds. So we got to
yeah,
have constantly reasons to do that. And watching this movie, it just felt very kind of like, okay, it doesn't distinguish itself from any other superhero movie, really. It just feels like very basic, very the same kind of thing. There's even, I mean, the action scenes for the most part in the movie, I like a
mhm,
lot of the hand-to-hand combat stuff they
mhm.
do earlier.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
get
those,
Yeah, because Kara, she's not like Clark Kent. She's not like Superman. Kara, grew up on Krypton. She grew up knowing how to fight, and you can see
Yeah.
that in the choreography. And Gillespie, he does like a lot of cool stuff with the action, stuff that I think is kind of outside of his wheelhouse. I mean, I think the most action-packed thing he'd done previous to this was killing Cruella's mom
with Batman
with
origin.
Dalmatians.
Yeah. So I actually think that works, but then at the end, it just turns really ugly. Like a lot of the
Mhm,
action where she's zipping around, I'm like, this looks
mhm,
terrible. This looks really bad. And that just looks really super bland and boring. And then also it does the thing where it plays to music.
mhm,
And again, if you already are really into it and it really works, maybe you don't mind that so much. Because, for example, even the movie last year, you had Superman. And then you had the scene with Mr. Terrific where he
mhm,
fighting the music. But it was like,
mhm,
well, I'm already really loving Mr. Terrific. So it really doesn't bother me
mhm,
that much that, he was kind of doing his thing with that. And this Superman movie, it's like, okay, it's not revolutionary in anything it's
mhm,
doing, but you had great characters. You
mhm,
liked everybody in it. It really worked on that level. Like people who you want to see, like people are like, hey, I want to see a Mr. Terrific show and maybe get his own thing there. I want to see maybe something with the Justice Gang and everything. Hell, even Crypto. I mean, like Crypto, his badass. You know what I mean? Like he was running around and doing. He had like great moments in it. What he did with
Hey,
Lex and everything.
we're gonna have Jimmy Olsen interviewing Gorilla Grodd in
Yeah,
in a couple of years.
Yeah, we're actually gonna Jimmy Olsen TV show. That's how much people like that character.
like, but see, those characters, even someone like Jimmy Olsen, even a smaller character like that, you get a sense of their
Mhm,
personality and who they are. But in this movie, in Supergirl, you don't really get that. You don't really get who really is Supergirl, other than being okay. She's depressed about her
mhm.
planet, and
Yeah,
then so
and
she's coping with her feelings.
I don't I disagree with that a little bit. I feel like the only character that gets depth in this is Supergirl, is Kara. She's the only
Mm,
character that goes through anything even remotely resembling a character arc through this.
mm, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna get
Mhm,
into that more in the spoiler
mhm,
talk Monday, but yeah, maybe. But it's like I didn't really walk away going like, man, I want to see Lobo and more
mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, it
Uh,
Yeah, this movie, it's a case of a really great performance by Millie Alcock, a really great showcase for her as this character, and I want to see more of her as Kara, just in a better movie.
yeah.
Yeah. What this worries me about is the writer, right? Anna
Mm.
Nawager. I don't know how to say her last name
Yeah,
properly, but
Anna Noguera. She
yeah,
was part of the original, like, writers' room when,
yeah,
Gunn was,
good
coming up
stuff.
with the DC universe.
Yeah, and
Mm,
they're saying that she's supposed to be writing Titans and Wonder Woman. And I,
Ooh.
after this, if it's not a situation where this got chopped up in the editing room, because
Mhm.
maybe she did write something great
Uh-huh.
and they took out pieces of it and they like, we can't make this over 2 hours. And they just kind of Frankensteined it or, yeah, the monstered it. Maybe she does a better job with Wonder Woman
Mhm.
and does a better job with Titans. But if this is just her script and it's not chopped up to hell, then I'm worried about those two movies
Mhm.
because the writing here is not great.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Um, and I'm gonna kind of close out, give final thoughts, go around here, and we give a
Mhm.
rating for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, like the movie, I think it's some people super horrendous or anything like that. No,
No.
I don't. I just think it's just super bland. I just think it's kind of
Mhm.
just meh and okay and aggressively okay. And almost that's what's maybe worse because it's untapped potential. You could
Mhm.
see where things could go, where this could be really good. Like you said, there's some scenes with her backstory, that really work. And there's some stuff you could do with the space. And like I said, look at the comic and like, that use that for visual reference with the colors and how, gorgeous that looks there visually there. Um, you can do some stuff with the girl, Ruthie there with that, and kind of with also Lobo and them kind of teaming up and making kind of a little makeshift kind of team there and do something with that. But it just every chance it kind of goes, it's like it goes left and
Mhm.
it's just kind of a little wrong there. But some moments are kind of okay. Like this action scene's not bad. It's actually pretty decent there with that. And Millie Alcott's good, even though Jason Momoa as Lobo, it's kind of was underwhelming there. I still didn't mind him in the movie. I thought he was still good in it. But yeah, it's just kind of I think it's just disappointing. And it's a shame because I was looking forward to this movie, the trailer I liked of it. And I was like, okay, I liked her introduction to Superman.
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I want to see more of her. But this was a disappointing outing for her. Maybe somebody else can come along if I don't know if they are brave enough to try to do a sequel and they want to advance her character. I think she kind of deserves that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to talk about more like kind of the future things, DCU, how this kind of shapes out with Sage Monday there. But for me, I just got to give it a stream it at best. What say you there, Nick?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this too. And it's a phenomenal performance from Millie Alcock. I think she is the best thing about this movie besides the inclusion of Jason Momoa, which even as much as I liked his scenes, it kind of felt like I was watching a separate movie whenever he was on screen. Um, Everything else about this is kind of like very generic, kind of boilerplate superhero movie, which is disappointing considering the talent behind the camera with Craig Gillespie. And like something that I love about his filmography is like he he doesn't make two movies that are like even remotely similar. Or like I, Tanya and Fright Night and Cruella and even Dumb Money, a movie that I liked, even Lars and the Real Girl. All of those are kind of different films with like different disparate tones and different styles behind them. And I wish we could have got to see more of him. In this, it kind of felt more like a work for hire job than it did like let's get an artist behind the camera that can really tell a story with Supergirl, which is a shame considering this is the sophomore outing of the DC universe and it's something that I've been looking forward to, but this kind of just feels very generic and it makes me worry a little bit about the future. I'm more excited for the next project, which is Clayface, because I think that's more director and more writer focused on that than this was. But I think that should be the lesson going forward is like make stuff more writer and director focused, make stuff that does feel distinct.
Mm.
Because
So
this ain't it. This is just kind of stream it, put it in the background. Is it as bad as, all of the film Twitter bros are telling you it is? Hell no. It's like even Nathan in our group chat is like going on about like Wonder Woman 84 is better than this. I was like, if you weren't dropped on your head as a child, you about to be.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, and so you give it a stream it.
Yeah, this is just kind of a
Yeah.
stream it. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad to see more of Millie Alcock as Kara. I look forward to seeing her reprise this role in the future. I think she's going to be in Man of Tomorrow. I think I
Yeah.
saw something about that, and I look forward to that.
Yeah. What about you there, Zach? So our rating scale, so the highest you can give something is this is cinema, then below that is a peak, then below that is a tune in, below that is stream it, and below that, so if you there are negative ratings, the very, very worst you can give something is waste of fucking film. Then above that, we have a burn it there, and then above that we have a tune out. So what would you kind of give it there?
I think I'm a little bit above than you guys. I think tune in. I think maybe go see it in a matinee. Maybe don't pay full price. I think that it still looks like a theater worthy movie on screen. I saw it on a big screen. I still had a good time. I think I was just a little disappointed because the comic is so great and
Mhm.
so visually pleasing and does so many things for the character Supergirl that I wish that the movie kind of found a way to capture that soul visually and story wise without tacking on weird changes.
Mhm.
But overall, I think Millie Alcock is worth seeing on the big screen. I think visually there's some really cool stuff to see. And I think you just want to be a part of this first phase of the DCU and seeing these movies in theaters. So when you go see her in Man of Tomorrow, you have that full character of who she is. Because I feel like if you stream this movie, there's opportunities for you to just kind of just check out at home. and I think you should just fully pay attention to what's going on with her character in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it with some people. They walked out. They kind of just went like, "Yeah." I mean, listen, I didn't. They didn't go like, "Oh, yippee!" You know, this is the best thing. They kind of just like, "Yeah." I mean, it was all right, you know, whatever. And I think most people see it. I mean, you have to depend on whether it's worth it or not. And you know what I mean. And yeah, I think it's just aggressively okay. There with that. I know it's not tracking so well box office wise. There, so I know it'd be even lucky to probably even maybe make over 100 million. Probably, I mean, maybe they'll end up like Masters of the Universe, where that barely reached over 100 million. So you kind of got that going for it, but yeah, it's a shame there with that. But yeah, this was not a hit for me. Just plain stream it. So stream it for me, streaming for Nick there, but tune in for Zach there, so he's a little bit more positive. That was our review for Supergirl 2026 there.